Hey everyone, welcome back to FT News. I'm Myra. The Bear Season 5 serves as the emotional final chapter of one of television's most celebrated dramas. Picking up immediately after Carmy decides to leave the restaurant, the final season throws every possible obstacle at the team while asking one important question. Can the bear survive without the chef who built it? Here's a complete recap of every episode and the emotional ending that brings this series to a close. The season begins with complete chaos. Carmy has already decided he's leaving the bear, but nobody has time to process the news because the restaurant is facing financial disaster. Uncle Jimmy admits they're almost out of money, suppliers are refusing deliveries, and the restaurant's credit cards have stopped working. As if that were not enough, a massive storm hits Chicago. Richie is distracted by memories of Mikey while driving to work and suffers a serious car accident. Thankfully, he survives and still insists on helping the restaurant. Sydney refuses to surrender. She flips Uncle Jimmy's countdown timer so it begins counting upward instead of downward, symbolizing that hope is still alive. Then disaster strikes once again. A damaged water pipe suddenly bursts, flooding the kitchen with filthy water and bringing the restaurant to the edge of collapse. Episode 2 picks up immediately after the flood. Closing the restaurant is not an option because there is simply no money left. Sydney takes control of the cleanup while Sugar desperately calls vendors hoping someone will continue supplying ingredients. Carmy accidentally makes the flooding even worse during repairs, and Uncle Jimmy cancels an expensive Wagyu order in another painful attempt to reduce costs. Building inspectors then discover serious structural problems that make selling the property much more difficult. As the pressure builds, everyone begins arguing. Sugar reaches an emotional breaking point while worrying she is missing precious moments with her daughter because of the restaurant. Tina comforts her with heartfelt advice about balancing work and family. Just as the reservation system finally starts working again, Tina herself reaches her emotional limit after carrying everyone else's burdens throughout the day. Episode 3 raises the pressure even higher. With only a few hours remaining before dinner service, Carmy asks Sydney to tell the staff that he is leaving and wants her to become the restaurant's new leader. The kitchen continues falling apart with leaking pipes, missing supplies, and even someone mysteriously stealing spoons. Then another major problem appears. The reservation system accidentally books 3 complete rounds of customers for the same evening. As the staff argues about what to do, Sydney accidentally reveals that Carmy has already resigned. Forced to explain himself, Carmy admits he no longer enjoys leading the restaurant and does not believe he deserves to remain head chef. His emotional confession shocks everyone. Later, he encourages Sydney to stop seeking his approval and trust her own instincts. Inspired by his confidence in her, Sydney finally steps forward as a leader. Just when it feels like the team has found new direction, Ted crashes through the ceiling while trying to repair the leaking roof. Episode 4 focuses almost entirely on preparing for one impossible dinner service. Richie and Carmy finally have an honest conversation. Richie explains that Carmy's biggest problem has always been trying to control every detail instead of trusting the people around him. For perhaps the first time, Carmy truly listens. Richie also admits he is still emotionally shaken after the recent car accident and cannot stop thinking about Mikey. Meanwhile, Uncle Jimmy searches for ways to save the building by selling its air rights. Sydney reorganizes the kitchen and reduces reservations to give everyone a fighting chance. Marcus shares a quiet conversation with Carmy, who thanks him for always remaining calm under pressure. Richie then surprises the staff by bringing back the original beef shirts, reminding everyone where their journey began. Moments before service begins, Jess notices a reservation change that suggests a Michelin inspector could be dining at the Bear that very night. Episode 5 finally begins dinner service, although even that refuses to go smoothly. Because of the severe storm, none of the guests arrive on time. Sydney quickly adjusts portion sizes and reorganizes the flow of service while everyone waits. Pete unexpectedly becomes the restaurant's first guest and immediately starts helping wherever he can. Uncle Jimmy continues working on his complicated air rights deal in hopes of saving the building financially. Sydney also gives Tina the reassurance she has desperately needed. She promises Tina that no matter what happens to the restaurant, she wants her to remain by her side as chef de cuisine. The emotional promise finally gives Tina confidence about her future. Marcus, however, grows increasingly frustrated with Luca, though nobody understands why. Richie and Jess also share a quiet moment that hints their friendship could become something much more meaningful. Finally, after hours of waiting, the first guests arrive. Sydney gives one unforgettable instruction: fire everything. The restaurant is finally alive. Episode 6 becomes a battle for survival. Every table is now occupied because Richie never canceled the extra reservations. Instead of giving up, Richie begins improvising. He creates extra seating in the basement, gives guests behind-the-scenes kitchen tours, and even serves diners inside the kitchen itself. Against all expectations, the creative solutions actually work. Inside the kitchen, Carmy finally stops trying to control every detail and begins working alongside everyone else as an equal teammate. Marcus finally opens up about the real reason behind his frustration. He is terrified that once the restaurant closes, the family they built together will disappear forever. Sydney reminds him that buildings can close, but talent and friendship will continue wherever life takes them. Richie also gives up Marcus's reserved table for his father by personally sending another couple to a nearby restaurant. Then comes another major surprise. Richie announces that the Michelin inspector has officially arrived. Now every single plate could determine the future of the bear. Episode 7 follows the restaurant through its most important dinner service. The Michelin inspector is finally dining in the restaurant, and every mistake suddenly feels enormous. Richie somehow manages to find seating while the kitchen pushes itself harder than ever before. Donna makes an emotional return to the restaurant for the first time since Mikey's death and shares a touching reunion with Natalie as she finally witnesses everything her children have created. Then, just when success seems possible, disaster strikes once again. A burner stops working. Carmy accidentally drops the Michelin inspector's plate. Panic spreads through the kitchen. But Sydney refuses to allow the night to collapse. She quickly serves Tina's Brussels sprouts while Carmy creates a backup dish using the coke ribs from the family meal. Unexpectedly, the Michelin inspector loves the replacement. Marcus later serves dessert to his own father in one of the season's most emotional moments. Carmy also manages one final miracle by saving the last Sunday before service finally comes to an end. Exhausted but proud, the entire team steps outside together, realizing they have somehow survived the impossible. Then comes the series finale. The morning after their biggest service finally brings hope. Richie receives an invitation to attend an international hospitality seminar in Japan. Uncle Jimmy agrees to support Ebra's dream of expanding the original beef into a franchise, and Carmy immediately approves because he believes the business can continue without him. Later, Carmy finally tells Natalie that he is truly leaving. He knows his journey inside the kitchen has reached its natural conclusion. Then the season delivers its biggest twist. The Michelin inspector everyone worried about during the final dinner service was never actually conducting the official inspection. The real Michelin visit happened months earlier. The bear has already earned 2 Michelin stars. Sydney finally receives the recognition she has spent years working toward. After a short time jump, every major character begins a new chapter. Luca returns to Copenhagen. Ebra starts expanding the original beef franchise. Richie prepares for his move to Japan, where Jess joins him, hinting at the beginning of a new relationship. Most surprising of all, Carmy interviews for a completely different career in architecture, hoping to build a healthier and more balanced future outside professional kitchens. The series closes with one final family gathering at Richie's daughter's birthday celebration inside the restaurant. As everyone prepares to move forward, Carmy sends one final text message to Mikey. It simply says, "I'm all good." Those 3 words perfectly capture the ending. For years, Carmy carried guilt, grief, impossible expectations, and the pressure of trying to honor his brother's memory. Now, for the first time, he finally allows himself to let go. The bear continues under Sydney, Richie, Natalie, Tina, Marcus, and the rest of the family, proving that while Carmy's personal journey has reached its conclusion, the restaurant he helped build will continue serving new stories for years to come. The Bear was never just about food. It was about family, healing, forgiveness, and finding purpose even after unimaginable loss. The series finale reminds us that sometimes the greatest success is not earning Michelin stars. Sometimes it is simply learning that it is okay to move forward. What did you think about The Bear Season 5 and its emotional series finale? Were you happy that Carmy chose a new path, or did you hope he would stay at the restaurant until the very end? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one.